Well, if you hear thunder, it means we're testing Hammer of Thor ammo. This is the 45 ACP, and yes, two groups of opening shots because we're using two handguns in this test of the Hornady Critical Duty 45 ACP plus P, and it's an odd weight, 220 grains, not 230 or 200, but 220. We're going to take a look at the velocity, still thundering, and the chronograph velocities in just a second. Now, I really like the Critical Duty. I have tested this already in 9mm and 40, and it has really good penetration capabilities. It's not going to expand a whole lot. That's the way it's designed. And one thing about this that's different than the Critical Defense is the Critical Duty bullet, among other things, has a higher percentage of antimony or tin. There's more tin mixed in with this lead, and it's going to give us better barrier penetration because it is a harder bullet. Love the timing of this thunder. Advertised velocity, 990 feet per second. I'm not certain of their test barrel, but that is moving along. First, we're going to look at the Springfield Armory XDS 3.3 inch barrel. Shots measured from 10 feet. There the 5. Not too bad. And then the average coming in at 891 feet per second. That's a lot better than I would have thought of that short barrel, 891. Now, let's move over to the full-size Colt 1911. This is a Series 80 government model, 5-inch barrel. Some folks might carry that. Here are the 5 shots from the Colt, again from 10 feet. Obviously closer to the advertised velocity. And then the 5-shot average there is 948 feet per second. So a difference of only about 6 or 7% between the velocities of these two handguns. Next up, we're going to fire a shot from each into a block of sim test. That's going to be from a distance of 10 feet, covered with 4 layers of denim. That worked out well. The XDS in the center and the Colt just over off to the left. Wanted to avoid getting those on top of each other. Think they're far enough apart, should not affect either shot channel. Let's take a look at the XDS track first. I'm just going to show 1/2, by the way, from each shot. I think that's going to be more than adequate. So we came in here and it starts to expand about 1 inch in. I'm counting this discoloration as part of the permanent cavity because the bullet did contact that. Moved it around a little bit. So we're looking at about 1/2 inch deep through here on this side of the track, and roughly 3/4 of an inch top to bottom at its widest point. So not very wide, so it tells me we're not getting a whole lot of expansion. By the way, the cavity is approximately 6.5 inches in length. So then we settle down, see what we have as far as penetration. What was your guess? There's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. How about a little bit more? We're going past 16. 16 and 5/8 inches to that leading edge. You can see from this perspective, not a whole lot of expansion, but we have really good penetration out of the short barrel. 16, 5/8 inches. And now over to the Colt track. The expansion on this one began a little bit sooner because of that additional velocity. And this track is approximately 1.25 inch wide in this direction, 3/4 of an inch deep. So because of the slightly higher, we're talking maybe 6-7% velocity, but more energy, then we're getting a bigger cavity here. So about 1.25 inches, because if I pull underneath, it's under there, deeper, wider, and runs a little bit longer. It runs about 7.5 inches in length. So that's interesting. Now, how's that going to impact the penetration? Are we going to get less penetration, more expansion? Because of those factors, let's find out. We're moving along 10, 12, 13, and we are just at 14 inches exactly on this leading edge. And again, that tip remained intact, carried all the way through to the stopping point. And at a glance, before we even take this out, there is definitely more expansion on the faster bullet coming out of the Colt 1911. 14 inches, and let's back up. And there is your tail of 2 tracks. Here is the XDS bullet. There's the high mark on expansion. The average is 0.619 inches. And now the Colt bullet. There's the high end. The average 0.750, exactly 3/4 of an inch. 220 grain bullet. There's the XDS, just a little bit under that, 219.6 grains. And then the Colt bullet, 219.5 grains. Shooting the warm critical duty ammo, recoil in the XDS isn't bad at all, and proper technique should lead to reasonable follow-up shots. As for the Colt, it continues to be one of the most accurate semi-autos in my inventory regardless of what I'm shooting. This test was a classic example of how short barrels will obviously lead to lower velocity and higher velocity contributing to greater expansion and less penetration. Seriously, pick one. I personally like the penetration numbers of both and could live with the reduced expansion in the XDS bullet. I do understand that some of you may be uncomfortable with that much penetration for self-defense. Either way, it appears the Hornady Critical Duty has pretty good potential to nudge itself into the upper echelon of self-defense ammo choices. Thanks for watching.